Hey everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty unique. We're going to be looking at money lays.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool combination of, like cultural tradition and I guess financial savvy, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't seen a money lay, I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen them, especially if you've been to, like a graduation or a wedding.
Mhm.
But they're basically exactly what they sound like. They're these lays made out of folded money,
Right.
often dollars, and they're often given as gifts for graduations or weddings.
Yeah. Popular in Hawaiian culture, especially.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really interesting because, um, it's this tradition that actually has roots in both Japan and Hawaii.
Mhm.
And it really shows you how, different cultural practices can kind of evolve and blend together.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's, it's not just about, I guess, like the practicality of the money, but also, the thought and care that goes into actually making the lei.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of making the lei, we've got some great resources here that kind of break down the process, including this really detailed WikiHow article.
Yeah, it gets pretty in-depth.
It really does. So according to this article, the first step is to fold your bills, and they're usually dollar bills, accordion style.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of folding them back and forth to make these little bundles.
You got to be precise with the folds, though.
Right.
Yeah, to get that, like, really nice, visual symmetry.
Yeah.
Each fold needs to be, like, crisp and even.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you secure the center of each little folded bundle with a rubber band. So now you've got, like, all these tiny little bouquets of cash.
Yeah, I love that description, like tiny little bouquets.
Right.
Yeah, and then you attach them to a base.
Right. And the base is often a kukui nut necklace.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really where that, the Hawaiian element really comes through,
Right, yeah.
Kukui nut is, it has so much significance in Hawaiian culture.
Oh, tell me more about that. I don't know much about kukui nuts.
Oh, yeah. So historically, they were used for, like, all sorts of things. From, I think lighting was one of them, medicine.
Oh, wow.
Even in some spiritual practices.
That's amazing. So it's not just like a random pretty nut. It's actually like
Right.
symbolically important.
It adds a whole other, layer of meaning.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's not just aesthetic. It's like, there's this historical and cultural significance woven right in.
Yeah, it's like giving a little bit of history along with the money.
I love it. And speaking of weaving things in, the article also talks about adding all sorts of other decorative touches, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can get super creative with it.
So you've got, like, your money, but then you can add, paper flowers, maybe even some candy, or even, like, little personal mementos.
Yeah, like if you have a shared memory or, like an inside joke, you can kind of put something in there that represents that.
Totally. So it become like, it's not just money. It's like this really tangible representation of your relationship with the person you're giving it to.
It really is. It elevates the gift, to something beyond just the monetary value.
Totally. Okay, but this is where things get a little bit unexpected, because the article also mentions that there are actually legal ramifications for defacing currency.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that.
Right. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, like, making a money later could potentially, get you in trouble with the law.
Yeah, there's Title 18, Chapter 17 of the U.S. Code
Yeah.
that outlines all the regulations about, like, how you can handle currency and how you can't.
So, like, no folding dollar bills into, I don't know, elaborate origami swans, then?
Well, I mean, the key thing is that you don't want to do anything that, like, permanently damages the bills.
Okay.
Like using rubber bands and ribbon, that's totally fine.
Right.
As long as you can unfold the bills later and, they can still be used as currency, you're in the clear.
Gotcha. So basically don't go crazy with the Sharpie or anything like that.
Exactly. You want the bills to remain, usable.
Yeah, okay. But that actually brings up an interesting point about, the article also talks about origami money lays, right? And apparently those are often kept as kind of keepsakes.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than being, like, taken apart and spent.
Yeah, they're more like art pieces.
Right. So it's interesting that even though it's money, sometimes it's not really about the money.
Exactly. The craftsmanship and, the sentiment behind it becomes more important than the actual monetary value.
I mean, it's still money, but it's like it takes on a different meaning,
Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating how that works.
Yeah, totally. It's like the money itself becomes a symbol of something more.
Exactly. It represents something beyond its face value.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it makes you think about like how different cultures, use and think about money in these different ways.
Absolutely. There's a whole other dimension to how we value and interact with, everyday objects.
Yeah, it's like it transcends its practical purpose in a way.
It really does. And speaking of how people use money in those different ways, it makes me think about all the ways people personalize money lace.
Yeah, like we touched on that a little bit with like the decorations and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious, like, are there any specific, like, themes or symbols that you see on,
Oh, I'm sure there are.
in terms of the decorations? Like, are there certain things that are more popular than others?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I bet there are. Like, I'm trying to think. I bet you see a lot of like flowers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Flowers are huge. And it's not just like any flowers.
Right.
People are really specific about the types they use because, different flowers have different meanings.
Yeah, like symbolic meanings.
Exactly. Like, you'll see a lot of plumeria, for example.
Plumeria is beautiful.
It is. It's gorgeous. And the fragrance is amazing, but it also symbolizes, like, beauty and new beginnings.
Oh, wow.
So it's perfect for graduations, It's like
Yeah.
you're not just giving them money. You're giving them this, like, wish for a beautiful future.
Yeah. So each element of the lei, like, tells a story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's like this. It's like a visual language almost. Using colors and textures and these symbols to, like, communicate emotions and well wishes.
That's awesome. I bet you see, like, orchids too, right?
Oh, yeah. Orchids are popular, too.
Orchids are nice.
Yeah. Those symbolize, like, love and luxury.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll even see people incorporate, like, more traditional Hawaiian elements.
Oh, wow.
Like lossala weaving or feathers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it adds this extra layer of, like, cultural richness to it.
It's so cool. Like, the more we learn about this, the more, like, intricate and layered it gets,
It really is, yeah.
Okay, but we've been talking about the visual elements, but I'm also wondering, like, are there other ways that people personalize these? Like, what about the actual bills themselves?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point, yeah.
Like, does the denomination of the bills matter at all?
It can, actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some people, they'll go for, like, the crisp new dollar bills.
Right.
They want it to look all fresh and clean.
Yeah.
But others, they might choose to use older bills, maybe even ones that have, like, a special meaning to them.
Oh, interesting.
Like a bill from their birth year.
Oh.
Or a bill that, maybe someone special signed for them.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, yeah, the money itself can have, like, this sentimental value.
Yeah, it's like, it's not just random money. It's like, it's been chosen specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. It really shows how much like thought and intention goes into making these things.
Absolutely. It's not just about, slapping some bills together. There's real heart in it.
Yeah, totally. It's like it makes you realize that, a money lei isn't just for like a graduation or a wedding.
Right.
It's like you could give it for all kinds of occasions. Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Birthdays, anniversaries, a housewarming, like you name it. There's probably a money lei for it.
It's like it's the ultimate customizable gift.
It really is. Yeah. Because you can adjust the amount of money, the colors, the decorations, even the types of bills you use.
It's so much more personal than just like giving someone a gift card.
Yeah. Way more. It shows that you put thought and effort into it.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked a lot about like the making of the lei and the meaning behind it, but I'm also kind of curious about the receiving end of things. Like,
Right.
Is there a certain etiquette involved when you're given a money lei?
That's a great question. There aren't like strict rules necessarily.
Right. And
but there are some cultural things to keep in mind.
okay.
Like, for example, it's generally considered polite to like accept it with grace and gratitude.
Right.
Even if you're, maybe a little awkward about the whole like money aspect.
Yeah, I could see that. Like you don't want to be like, thanks for the cash.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to make it seem like it's just about the money.
It's like you're trying to appreciate like the thoughtfulness and the creativity behind it.
Yeah.
But also acknowledge like, hey, this is also money.
Right. It's like finding that balance between acknowledging both the material and the, symbolic value.
Exactly. And on the flip side, like if you're the one giving the money lei, you also want to be sensitive to like the recipient's background and their preferences.
Exactly.
Right? Like some people might just be more comfortable, receiving a traditional lei or a different kind of gift.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's all about being mindful and respectful, just like with any gift-giving situation.
Totally.
And, if you're ever unsure, it's always a good idea to just ask someone, like a friend or family member, who might be more familiar with, the specific cultural norms.
Right. Like, don't be afraid to ask for advice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the history, the craftsmanship, the symbolism, like even the etiquette of money leis.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, like, from your experience, what's like the most unusual or creative money lei that you've ever like seen or heard of?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I've seen some really, really intricate origami ones.
Oh, cool.
Like really elaborate.
Yeah.
And I've seen some that incorporate like family photos.
Oh, wow.
Which is really sweet, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I even saw one once that used like vintage postage stamps along with the bills.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was really unique.
Yeah, very creative. Like it's amazing how people take this like basic concept
Right.
and just like totally elevate it,
Absolutely. They take it to a whole other level.
Yeah, with their creativity.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder like what other everyday objects could be like transformed into something special,
That's a great question. Like what could you take and turn into a gift?
Yeah.
By just adding those personal touches and that symbolism.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head, but it's definitely like, this whole conversation's got me thinking outside the box about gift giving.
Yeah, me too.
Like maybe I'll have to try making a money on myself sometime.
I think you should. It's a really rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows, you might even, uncover a hidden talent for origami.
Haha, maybe. I'll just make sure to like brush up on the US code first.
Haha, good idea.
Don't want to get in trouble with the law for my crafting skills.
Yeah. But all jokes aside, I think the main takeaway here is that, gift giving is really about more than just the object itself.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's about expressing that care and thoughtfulness and that connection with the recipient.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that connection can be expressed really beautifully through something as simple as, folding a few dollar bills.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool. But you know what? Before we wrap up, I do want to kind of circle back to that thing you mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah.
About other cultures incorporating money into art and ritual objects.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
We were talking about how money can take on like a different meaning when it's used in these cultural contexts, beyond just its financial value.
Right, exactly. And there were some amazing examples from around the world.
Yeah, like what are some of those? I'm curious.
Okay. So, for example, in Japan, there's this tradition called otoshidama.
Okay.
And it happens during New Year's.
Okay.
And basically, adults give money to children in these, like, beautifully decorated envelopes.
Oh, wow.
And it's seen as a symbol of, like, good luck and prosperity for the coming year.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's similar to money leis in that it's not just about, like, the money itself, but the way it's presented.
Right, and the meaning behind it.
Exactly. It's all about the symbolism.
Yeah.
And there are other examples, too. Like in some cultures, paper money is used to create, like, really intricate origami figures.
Oh, wow.
And these figures are then, used in religious ceremonies or even just displayed as works of art.
That's cool.
So it's like the money itself becomes this canvas for cultural expression.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great way to put it. Yeah, it's cool how something that's, seemingly as ordinary as money
Right.
can become like, extraordinary.
Totally.
When you look at it through this lens of culture and tradition.
Exactly. It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it really is. Like it makes you realize like, we walk around and we see all these things every day and we don't always think about like the deeper meanings they might have.
Right, especially like when you look at it from different cultural perspectives, it's like it just opens up a whole new way of seeing things.
Totally. And I guess like if we connect this back to the money leis,
Yeah.
it seems like they're not just about the money, or even like just the craft of making them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's about connecting with someone,
Yeah.
celebrating a special occasion and even like sharing a little bit of cultural heritage.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like this beautiful blend of, practicality and creativity
Mm-hmm.
and that, cultural significance that we've been talking about.
It's really unique. It's like you don't really see that with a lot of other gifts.
No, you don't. And it's really interesting too because it makes you think about, like all the other ways that we can kind of imbue meaning into everyday objects.
Oh, right, right.
And that brings me to a question that I think would be interesting to think about, for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Like what everyday object could you transform into a meaningful gift? By combining it with some personal touches and symbolism.
That's a good one. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it's a challenge, to really look at the things around you and see like the potential for meaning making.
Yeah. What can I take? That's just like a normal thing.
Yeah.
Make like super special for someone.
Right. It could be something as simple as like a handwritten note tucked into like a favorite book.
Oh, that's nice.
Or, maybe like a collection of family recipes.
Oh, yeah.
It's all compiled into a personalized cookbook.
I love that.
Or even something as humble as like a rock.
A rock.
Yeah, yeah. But, painted with a memory that you share.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's really about taking the ordinary and making it extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Just through thoughtfulness and creativity.
I love that. And it's like, it's not about the money, right? Like with the money lays.
Right.
It's about the thought and the effort
Exactly.
we put into it.
It's about that personal significance.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about creating a connection that goes beyond just the material thing itself.
Absolutely. Well said. So there you have it, everyone. That was our deep dive into the world of money lace.
That was fun.
Yeah. I mean, we started with like a simple craft project, right?
Right.
And we ended up talking about everything from like cultural traditions to like gift-giving etiquette.
Yeah.
And even like the U.S. code.
It's amazing what you can learn from just one, seemingly simple thing.
It really is. And we hope that this deep dive has maybe inspired you to, look at the world around you a little differently.
Yeah.
Appreciate those hidden depths of everyday objects.
Absolutely.
And maybe even, try your hand at making a meaningful gift for someone you care about.
Yeah. And if you do decide to make money, just remember, brush up on that U.S. code first.
Always good advice. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.